Welcome to the Tale Slate. I'm Ben Stacy and I'm here with Brian Traris. And today we are talking about Batman v Superman. We both just went and saw the movie last night.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about our thoughts in general. We're going to start with some stuff that has no spoilers in. And then we'll give you a warning because then we want to talk more specifics about characters, plot points. So there will be spoilers following. But I got to say, I wrote a quick little review of the film after I got back home last night. And I liked it. I quite liked the film.
Yeah, so did I.
And but after it sunk in a little bit more, there was more about the film that I disliked, more that didn't work, that I didn't think about, immediately upon leaving the theater. So
I find that always happens. The same thing happened to me, not as, I don't think to the same degree, but yeah, there was little details that, kind of was niggling at me that I realized it's like, okay, that doesn't quite make sense why they did that, or why was that there, or how did that connect? And it does take away from the film for you, but overall, I did enjoy the film. I liked it. I think if you like superhero films, if you like the big punch-ups, it had that.
I enjoyed seeing the characters again. I did like Man of Steel. I know there's a lot of people that
So did I,
had
yeah.
some complaints about it, but I enjoyed Man of Steel, and it was good seeing this Superman again. Ben Affleck as Batman was great.
He was, yeah. Like
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were worried about it. I was worried about it myself, but yeah, he's got the acting chops. He pulled it off. He did a great Batman. I did not like his Bruce Wayne as much, but he was a great Batman.
Yeah. And then we have some others. Obviously, Wonder Woman for the first time on screen. Gal Gadot did a great job as
She
Wonder
did,
Woman,
yeah.
and even as Diana Prince. There was some really good stuff with that. Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I'm not sure. I didn't dislike him.
I did.
But I wasn't like overly impressed.
I didn't like him for the same reasons I have not liked Lex Luthor in any incarnation in any of the movies. It's always the same kind of wacky character. He may have kind of a darkness to him, but he still comes across as more of this kind of like just over the top, insane character. And that's not who Lex Luthor is. He might not be entirely sane, but he's much more clinical, much more, he's much more of a tactician than just this kind of, wacky character. He's much more in control. And Jesse's character did not have that. He didn't translate that.
And then story-wise, the story, I generally don't complain about the story of a film because it's not up to me to decide what the story should be. However, this did have quite a few holes in it. It meandered quite a bit, and it wasn't very tight. There was a lot of stuff. It felt very disjointed at times. And there was some dream sequences that they did, which I found slightly confusing as well. And the way they did the dream sequences, you were like, hang on a minute, is this one of the dream sequences or not? And then you realize, oh, okay, it is. Okay, fine. And so on. So it was just, it felt slightly sloppy.
Well, I think that was the fault of they had multiple stories that they were trying to mesh together. And it's like taking jigsaw puzzle pieces from different puzzles and trying to fit them together and make one picture. And it didn't work at times. In some cases, it was good. I think they did make it pretty much seamless. But overall, I think when there was like some kind of discontinuity, that was the reason.
I suspect a lot of that is the fault of the studio. When that was the biggest concern I had about this film going in was it feels like DC is rushing to catch up with Marvel.
Yes.
They want to have their DC universe going. They want to catch up to the Avengers, so they need their Justice League.
Yeah.
I would have preferred to see another standalone Superman film first. And when they announced Batman v Superman, I was a little disappointed. The trailers, however, had me excited to see it. I was impressed by the trailers. mind you, a lot of the stuff you see in the trailers give away almost the
Oh, I
entire
know.
plot of the
I know.
whole
Like
movie.
you knew that Doomsday was going to be in it.
Yeah,
as
in
soon as they
case in
showed-
case you didn't know, in case you haven't
Yeah.
seen the trailers,
Spoiler.
yeah, Doomsday's in it.
Yeah.
But it felt like, and I think even possibly the sloppiness of the editing had to do with the
Yeah.
studio's involvement, because
Yeah.
from what I've read, they wanted more Batman in the film
Mm-hmm.
after seeing it, so they had to insert more Batman. And when studio executives get involved in storytelling, it's never good.
No.
It's never good. So I know there's a longer cut of this. The original cut was supposedly around 4 hours or so.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping when they release it for home video that we're able to see some of the stuff that was cut out, and hopefully that stuff will actually fill in some of the story. That generally it's the good stuff that gets cut out because the studios want bigger action stuff. Give us all the action.
Well, they want too much in it, and then they realize we can't have all of that. So
Yeah.
then they cut out things that are necessary for connecting the points together, and it doesn't work.
So anything else in general before we get into more specifics?
I think, in general, the action in the film I liked. I found in the Transformers movies, I found like when they were getting into the big fights, it was just a lot of noise and motion. You couldn't see what was going on, and I hated that because I'm trying to find out who's winning the fight, and I couldn't tell. In this, it's chaotic in the big final fight, but even between Batman and Superman, the fighting was chaotic, but you could still follow it. You still saw punches being landed, and it worked. It was over the top at times, but not in a bad way. It was.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there were times when it was a bit too much, I thought, but and a bit noisy. But in general, you were able to follow the action, which was good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, if you're watching and you have not seen the film yet, stop watching unless you want to find out spoilers, because we are going to be talking specifics now. So, what... With Batman, we went back again and had his origin story once again in a much truncated version.
Yes.
Do you think that was necessary?
I think it was just to touch back on, because the important part of Batman's character here was he was traumatized, he was in pain, and he was reacting out of that after seeing the Wayne Enterprise building destroyed. He felt like young Bruce Wayne again. Is like he was helpless while the big bad guys killed everyone. He couldn't do anything, and I think it was supposed to reflect that he was right back to being little Bruce Wayne, watching his parents die.
And couldn't do anything about it. I did actually enjoy how they opened it with the battle from Man of Steel, and Bruce Wayne, getting involved in his capacity trying to save people. And that tied in nicely to him having a distrust of Superman and this godlike creature.
They set it up very well. Yeah.
Of course, that is done retroactively from the last movie, but that's cool. A good sequel can write as if it's supposed to be done. Yeah. So that was well done. Then we had the whole thing about Superman. Is he somebody that we trust or we don't trust? And the Senate hearings and so on with Superman. Thoughts on that?
To me, that's always tired because it always comes down to, he's like the nuclear bomb. Do you use him or do you not use him? What's the ethics of him, affecting a human civilization? And okay, yes, I get it. That's for this movie. It's very important. It's all about. That's the argument that Bruce Wayne or Batman uses for why he goes after him. Same thing with Lex. That's the reason he goes after him. Well, that and that he feels Superman is, outshining him. But yeah, that's the argument they use. That's how Lex Luthor goes after Superman, using the public to attack him. So yeah, it's tired, it's old, it's been done 100 times, but in this case, it was it's necessary to the story.
Yeah, I thought it worked. Again, it was sloppily put together at times, but I liked how Lex Luthor in this movie was sort of manipulating both Batman and Superman.
Yep.
taking what fears that they both had and pushing them
Yeah, well,
a little bit more.
and to me, that is Lex Luthor. That's the kind of villain he is that he's this spider in the web. He'll manipulate the people around without allowing himself to be directly implicated. So he has plausible deniability. And I think a lot of reviewers, like a lot of the reviews I've heard, I think people missed out on the fact that he was subtly manipulating them.
Yeah.
Because they were saying things like, oh yeah, and all of a sudden Batman wants to go after Superman. It's like, no, there was a reason for it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he had that initial seed there from witnessing what happened,
but Lex
it was
was
pushed
behind the scenes pushing him to do it.
Exactly. I liked what they did with that character that was injured in the Wayne Tower collapse. I think his name was Wallace. Wally Wallace.
The security guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because he was injured, Bruce Wayne had been taking care of him, sending him checks and so on. But those checks all came back returned with notes on it.
Yeah.
Angry at Wayne. And that was actually
Lex Luthor
doing that.
Manipulating Batman.
That's right. But then they used Wally in the Senate hearings in a nice brand new wheelchair where he goes in.
Given to him by Lex Luthor.
Given to him by Lex Luthor. And then Superman walks into the hearings and is so preoccupied with what's going on, doesn't realize that this is basically a suicide bomb.
Yes.
And blows up the Senate.
An unknown suicide bomb.
I guess I'm not sure Wally knew he was going to blow up.
But my favorite part of that was Granny's lemonade, or Granny's lemon tea. Because that's a reference back that Senator Finch, who was in charge of the hearing, she stymied Lex Luthor on a point that he was trying to get some kryptonite brought in. She stopped it. And she makes this reference to Granny's lemon tea being, piss. And she's like, you can piss in a cup and call it Granny's lemon tea, but I'm not going to drink it.
Yeah.
And when she sees that on her desk, she realized too late. It's like, oh crap, something's about to happen. And then the bomb goes off.
Yeah. And of course,
love that.
A lot of people blame Superman for that, and that's
because they have no other person.
He's the only one that survives.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, there was some interesting stuff going on there. I really liked the scene at Lex Luthor's gathering where we have Clark Kent meeting Bruce Wayne, and Diana Prince is there as well. And there's these looks between her. She must know who Bruce Wayne is. I gathered that she did. I don't know if she knew who Clark was.
No,
but
I don't think so.
I loved how Bruce Wayne was there to try and steal some information from LexCorp, from their computers, and Alfred was talking on an earpiece to him. Of course, Clark Kent can hear this with his super hearing, and I thought that was great. You haven't really seen that before in...
Yeah, to me though, the only thing I didn't like about that was there was no payoff. There was nothing that Superman did about it.
No, well, he was on his way, and then didn't something happen?
There was the news report.
A news report of some stuff going on, and he had to fly away and help out. But what did pay off rather well there was Diana Prince following Bruce Wayne, stealing his thing that he was using to download the information. Bruce Wayne sees her take off with it, and she sort of gives the nod as she leaves.
Yeah, kind of like the little wink to him. It's like, yeah, I know what you're up to, and
Yeah, and then later on, giving it back to him when she couldn't break the encryption. Of course, he breaks the encryption and she was looking for a picture of herself.
Yeah.
There's a picture of her from World War One, which is also to set up her standalone film, which I believe will be taking place in World War One.
Yeah.
But I liked how that was done, and that was how they introduced the other members of the Justice League too.
Yes.
On this file was surveillance video of the Flash, some video from a dive on a wreck of Aquaman, and then a guy creating Cyborg.
Yeah.
I was happy that they did that and didn't try to introduce the characters directly, because there was so many characters in this film to start with.
Yeah, there was too much going on as it was to try and shoehorn more characters in.
Yeah.
I think it was still a little kind of jarring to have this in, because it was kind of like almost like an aside.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
It was okay. I mean, it's fine. It sets up for the future, and okay.
And then we had Lex creating... Well, two things. Lex was trying to get kryptonite. Batman ended up stealing the kryptonite.
Now,
And I don't think Lex cared because he was
I
pushing.
think he set it up. I think, again, it was one of those
That would
things.
be a heck of a roundabout way
I
to
know.
have Batman get the kryptonite, though.
But I think that's the thing, is that he knew, because he knew who Batman was, and he knew that Batman was watching his guy, the Russian. I don't think anything that Batman did, like breaking into LexCorp and that, I don't think Luthor missed any of that. And so I suspect that it was almost a Batman gambit.
Yeah.
For Luthor to set it up that, I'll bring this in, but then, oh gosh, Batman stole it from me, to set up the fight. Because that's the only way that, logically, Batman would get it.
True. Yeah.
So I think,
and he needed it
was
to
part
fight
of it.
Superman.
Yeah.
And Batman's fight with Superman was quite good. I enjoyed their first
yeah.
fight. Actually, the first time they meet is when Batman's chasing after this kryptonite, and Superman. That's where that classic bit from the trailer where he smashes the Batmobile into
Yeah,
him.
which I love. That was an excellent scene.
Yeah. But their actual fight, and then Batman using the kryptonite, excuse me, in a gas form to start with, and then he had that spear which he was going to use.
What I liked was, because I was worried that it'd be like, oh, he hits him with the gas and that's it, and he beats him up for the rest of the fight. And
But it wears off.
The gas wears off, so it's only good for a few minutes. And during that time, he's just laying him, giving it to him.
Yeah.
And it was great watching him pound on him. And then it's just like, goes to take a swing and he stops it. And it's like, oh crap. And you see it in his face where, Batman's like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
and then,
now he's,
and then he realizes, I got to get him again.
Now, Superman fighting Batman. Superman wanted to stop Batman from doing the things that he's doing to the criminals. Didn't think that was right.
Yeah.
But that's not enough to go after him to kill him. So Lex, he starts off with using Lois Lane as a lure. Throws her off a building. Of course, Superman shows up, saves her. You think that's how he's going to do it. But no, he uses his mother, Martha Kent, to, threatens her to kill her if he doesn't go and bring him the head of Batman. So Superman goes off. Now, this is I did like this, the fact that you think, oh boy, we're going to have Superman trying to kill Batman.
Yeah.
He goes to fight him, but he's actually being
He still
noble
tries
and good.
not
He's
to
trying
do
not
it.
to. He's trying to explain to Batman, this is what's going on, but Batman's down.
Oh yeah, he's too focused on getting him.
Yeah. And Batman is going to win. He's got the spear with kryptonite on it.
Oh, he's set everything up. He staged it all, so it's all set to go.
Yeah. And that's when Lois Lane shows up, and Batman or Superman is about to get stabbed, and he starts talking about his mom, who's
You got to save Martha.
You got to save Martha.
Yeah.
And I hadn't clued in that Martha Kent and Martha Wayne both have the same name, so that stops Batman. I don't think that alone, because some people have said that, just because it's the same name, why would he stop? No, it's like when you say wait.
Yeah.
Somebody says wait, you're going to go, what for?
Well,
it was enough to stop him to think.
I think anyone who has any sort of a moral code, they don't want to kill. And I
give
think
him any excuse not
give him
to.
any excuse not to do it. Just yell wait. People will wait.
Yeah. So that was enough to grab him out of that, and that's where Lois Lane points out that's his mother.
Yeah.
And
then of course that causes him to flash back to his own
mom.
mother.
Yeah. And then they're now working together. But of course, while this is going on, Lex Luthor has created Doomsday by mashing some genetic stuff from General Zod and his own blood, and using the Kryptonian ship to create Doomsday.
Genetic.
What did you think of Doomsday? I mean, I haven't really. I'm not a big comic reader, so I didn't know him from the comics. But from what I've seen, his design in the comics is almost the same as this. Some people complained about this being very simplistic looking and like a troll.
What it is that what you see in the comic books is kind of the not future, but a later version of
where he's been damaged
Doomsday.
And growing all this crap.
Yeah, because what it is that every time he gets killed, he returns, like he'll regenerate, and then he will also grow defenses for whatever it was that killed him. So you saw, like, when his hand got cut off, he grew a bone spear, and that replaced it. And when he got slashed by Wonder Woman, you saw bone grow up to act as a like armor against her.
Doomsday, to me, I didn't care about the character. He's just this big thing that smash.
Yeah,
kind of like the Hulk, but a bad version of that. Wonder Woman, though. I really enjoyed her. When she shows up in the fight, that was... And I liked, actually, how she was... They set it up nice. She didn't just show up. She heard the news of what's going on. She was on a plane, getting ready to go somewhere, and she got off the plane.
Yeah.
And okay, she's gonna join the fight.
Yeah. Now, I wonder how she got there so quick, but it was just
She's a
such a
superhero.
cool scene. Yeah. But no, it was such a cool scene. Like, I loved it. They get this, like, really good music going when she first shows. Like, all you see is, like, the big blast from Doomsday, and then when it passes, she's there, and you can't see her at first, and then she pulls her hands down, she looks up, and then they start this music, and it was just like, oh yeah, this is going to be a fight.
Yep. Now, I have to complain about the scale of this fight. I know it's a temptation to make things bigger and more exciting, but sometimes bigger is not more exciting. It just becomes confusing and noise. And there were times in the fight where it's like, okay, scale it down just a bit.
Yeah.
We can still know what's going on. It's still a life or death battle.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
What I did like was, Batman gives the throwaway line that it's an empty pier, everyone's gone, so they're allowed to cut loose.
Yeah.
I also like that when Doomsday starts, he's about to let go with another blast, Batman just like goes, oh crap, and he dives for cover while the other two are standing there and they take the hit.
Yeah.
But he's just like, yep, I'm not going to survive.
Yeah. No, there was some good stuff in it. And then, of course, at the end, Superman
yes,
dies.
He dies.
He's killed in the process of killing Doomsday.
Yeah.
Of course, we know he's not really dead.
Well, certainly not when you see the very end.
Yeah. But obviously, he's going to be in the future movies.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Justice League.
So I don't know if they needed to kill him. Does it serve the story by killing him?
Well, again, I think there's two things. One, that is the story of Superman.
I know that's
Doomsday.
the story of Doomsday. Yes, Doomsday.
The second thing, though, is it's the catalyst that brings the Justice League together. Because Batman says, you know what, we're going to need them.
Yeah. Overall, I did, in general, like the film. But the more I thought about the things I didn't like, it made me angry. Because you have filmmakers in a studio putting so much money into a film. Why can't you tell a great story? Not just a good story that we go, okay, I liked it. It was pretty good. Why can't you tell a great story? You got cool characters. Do something really interesting with them.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the problem with trying to, again, the rush to getting to Justice League.
Yeah.
Also, the problem with trying to please the comic book fans. Like I said, I'm not a comic book reader. I've enjoyed Superman and the superheroes from cartoons and from the movies and so on. So I'm not as attached to these comic book stories.
Yeah.
And like you said, they've tried to mash a couple of different comic book stories together in this film.
Yeah.
And it feels
And
forced.
it feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like, I am a comic book fan. I love Superman. I love Batman. I like Wonder Woman even. The thing I found was they are trying to do too much. They have too many stories, which, yeah, I get it. They wanted to do Batman versus Superman. Then they also want to bring in Doomsday and Wonder Woman, so you're forming the Justice League at the same time. But it's too much. And I think in part, it's like what you said earlier, you have executive meddling and you have too many cooks trying to make the meal. And it's like, you know what, back off, let the writers handle it. They know what they're doing.
Because it could have worked as literally just a Batman versus Superman.
Sure.
And have the same kind of thing can lead to them wanting to fight each other. You could even have Lex Luthor involved as he was.
Yeah.
But
instead of having
Doomsday, Lex, they end up coming back together, and that foils Lex's plans.
Yeah.
He goes off to fight another day. So, and you still could add the story of Wonder Woman. They're discovering who Wonder Woman is. She can even show up at the end to help out. Whatever. What is wrong with telling a new story with these characters?
Well, I think, again, you were touching on it. The comic book characters, when you bring in someone like Doomsday, or Batman versus Superman, or the Dark Knight story, comic book fans have a certain expectation, and so they want to see it. If you don't have it, I think that will disappoint them more than messing with the story.
Okay, but every time there's a new comic series, a Superman series, a Batman series, they're telling new stories, are they not? Or are they always rehashing old comic stories?
A bit of both. They do rehash a lot of stories. They tell it in a, like, I mean, how many times have they done a reboot of a character and they retell it, but in a more modern version? I mean,
Oh, and that's fine.
Batman's
But
from
what
the
I'm saying is
30s,
you can still
so-
tell a new story, and the films exist separate to the comics, so why not
Yeah.
come up with something that's unique to the films? I think that might have served these things better.
Well, I think what it is they're afraid to. I think they really think if they bring in something new and something that hasn't been okayed by the fans, then the fans are going to be upset.
But there's a lot of fans that are upset about this movie
Sure.
because it's tried to do too much.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's
You know,
the thing.
it's, they're we can't mess it up. So by doing that, they're messing it up.
And you know me, like personally, I would love to see them do something new or an original. The problem is, if you don't do it right, like if you don't get the tone right, because they at least with these stories, they may not get the stories 100% correct, like, as in from the comic, but they have the comics in which they can go back to and see what the tone is or how the character would react. And that saves them on the writing time, because they can just say, oh, well, this is what Superman did. Okay, well, then we translate that to screen as best as possible.
I think, as far as I'm concerned, they just squeaked by with this film. Like, I was worried about it. I was somewhat satisfied by the film. I mean, I mildly enjoyed it. I didn't love it. But I didn't dislike it enough to not watch the next film.
Yeah.
Whether it's Justice League, or I'm excited to see Wonder Woman because I thought she was a great character. So, and again, we had talked about the DC and the Marvel Cinematic Universes, and is that a good idea?
Yeah.
One of the big cons about creating a universe like this is, what if this movie was even worse than this? What if this movie sucked so bad? They've already announced they're going to be doing all these other films. You've got a movie that could have destroyed your entire plans for the future.
Oh, yeah, right before they even started,
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was that bad.
I don't think it was that bad either.
yeah.
I enjoyed it enough.
No, but I
that
mean,
I'm happy.
I'm sure there are people. From some of the reviews I've heard, there are some people who do think it's that bad. I don't get that. I mean, I think they missed a lot of the story, like a lot of the subtlety of the story. Like, again, a lot of people didn't get that Lex Luthor was the one manipulating both heroes. And okay, well, if you miss that, then yeah, maybe you'll be upset. You'll be like, well, why are they getting so angry at each other? It's like, because, yeah, the setup explains why Batman's angry, but for him to kill, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, there's a lot of things that people miss, and I think there's a lot of things in this movie that are good.
There are. There's some really good stuff in it, and there's some stuff that it's the sloppy filmmaking that I'm most annoyed
There
with.
is a bit like the whole thing with the bullet. Now I'm missing something.
That from that scene at the beginning of the
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
Even that scene at the beginning of the film was a little out of place, I thought.
Well, again, it was a bit ham-fisted, but it was to set up the whole.
Yeah.
Again, it was a setup to make Superman look bad.
That's right. Yeah.
In case you're not sure what we're talking about, there's a scene where Superman goes over to the Middle East to save Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor has set it up so that some of his men are there acting as terrorists, and they shoot up the place, and they make it look like Superman has somehow caused all this death.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, the only reason they find out it's Lex Luthor who's behind it is because
He uses some special bullet.
yeah, there's some special bullets that he gives his men, and
Any other bullet would have worked just fine.
yeah, and somehow Lois Lane, well, not somehow, Lois Lane gets one because it hits her journal that she was using. And somehow, the somehow I got that gets me is somehow she gets a bullet through customs twice. She goes into an airport over in the Middle East that, she gets through metal detectors with a bullet in her book. And then she gets to the U.S. and gets through more, security and
You sure she
metal
flew
detectors.
back and Superman didn't fly her back? I guess not. He'd left her.
Well, yeah, because I thought he took off. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, so
But maybe
there's
he
a
did
lot of
fly
little things like that. Again, it's just a little sloppy
Mm-hmm.
filmmaking, and that shouldn't happen on a movie this big.
Yeah.
So anyway, um, I'm interested to see what you guys think of this movie if you've seen it already. It'd be interesting also to see if it holds up to multiple viewings. Some movies are better, some fall apart. So
Yeah. Well, I do want to see it again. I saw Deadpool again and loved that. Well, this movie, if there's something that bugs you a lot, it may just piss you off even more if you go and see it again. But I honestly, there's nothing in here that takes me away from the story. I know people were saying it was too long. I did find at times I was drifting out of the story where it was like, we saw it in 3D. And so every once in a while I'd take off, I'd pull my glasses down because my eyes were bothered a bit by it. But I realized it's like I'm kind of like losing interest in the story. So I had to refocus and
yeah,
catch up.
I'm curious to see. Obviously, they will do an extended cut, but if the stuff that was cut out would have made the story tighter, because you can have a long film
Yeah.
that's tight, or you can have a short film or a film this length that's cut holes.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, let us know what you think of this movie. Like I said, it's I was okay with it. Not super over pleased, but it was okay with it.
I was a little more than okay with it. I
Good.
liked it.
Good. But yeah, let us know what you think, and please subscribe to this channel, and we'll have plenty more where this came from. Thanks.